Shine coming to you from the kitchen, bringing you a very basic recipe for homemade brown bread, but very used recipe. I make this brown bread a lot. I have to confess I don't normally make it one loaf at a time. Making one loaf for a family of 5 just doesn't really cut it anymore. So normally I make 6 loaves at a time because that's what fits in the oven, but I have tested this recipe to make sure I have it right for one loaf. So I'm just in the door from work. I'm hoping to get my bread made and in the oven before I have to collect the kids. But first coffee, then I'm going to get myself set up and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm ready to get going now. I have my flours weighed out and I'm just going to go through the rest of the ingredients with you now. So I'm using wholemeal flour. In this case, I'm using organic wholemeal fine ground flour. If you can use coarse ground, that's even better. I also will be adding wheat bran and wheat germ, sugar, baking soda, salt, a small drop of oil and milk. You can also use buttermilk. I have milk on the last legs, so I'm using that before it goes off on me. I have my bread tin oiled and floured just lightly, and I have to put on my oven. Preheat my oven to 220 degrees. And I just want to say that this recipe will be available on my new blog, which is the big project I've been working on for the last several months. Don't have a lot of content on it at the minute, but by the time this video goes up, I hope to have my brown bread recipe up on there. If you click on the link below, you will be brought to the recipe and you can jump straight down to the bottom and print off the recipe as a PDF. So hopefully that's handy for you. So I'm just going to put all the rest of the ingredients in now, mix it up and get it into the oven. So I've just added all the dry ingredients to the bowl. I had the 2 flours in already. I added the wheat germ, wheat bran, sugar, salt and baking soda, and I like to put the baking soda through a wee sieve just to break up lumps, because it can get very clumpy and nobody wants to get a mouthful of baking soda in their bread. So now it's just a case of adding the wet ingredients, mixing it up and putting it in the tin. So I just want to show you the texture now. I've added the oil and the buttermilk. I use oil. You could certainly use butter. I find oil helps to keep the bread longer. It stays fresher for longer. And as well as that, it's quite a moist consistency as well. You can see from the way it just drops off the spoon. You certainly wouldn't need this bread, it'd be much too wet for that. But between the moistness and the oil, it helps to keep the bread for longer. So this bread will last 3-4 days easily, though it never usually lasts that long in this house. So all I have to do now is put it in the tin. Little bit of procedure then, and it goes to the oven. So a very important part of this recipe is to just cut a slit down the center of the bread. It just helps it to rise evenly. Now I'm trying to do this one-handed, but basically you cut a slit about 1 inch deep down the center of the loaf, and I then put some air holes in it as well to help the air escape. You can dust it with a little flour as well if you wish. I have it dusted with oats as well on the top. I just like the look of it. But the kids can be fussy enough, sometimes they don't like that. That's it, it's ready for the oven. My oven is preheated to 220 degrees. I'm going to put this in, reduce the temperature to 200 as soon as I put it in, and I'm going to stick my timer on for 35 minutes. I like to check it after 35 minutes, but it usually takes up to 50 minutes. My oven, I do have to turn the bread around. It doesn't heat evenly, so I do have to turn my bread around usually after about 35 minutes, and then let it cook on for another 15. And there we are, that's the final product. I'll stick in a shot of it when it's cut open later on, but I'm going to let it cool now, fully cool, before I cut into it. You could of course take into it now, but it would be very brittle and hard enough to slice, so it's better to leave it to cool fully. So that's my brown bread recipe. I hope you all try it out. Like I said, a very simple recipe, but it really is a staple here in our house. Now I have to admit today it felt a little bit wasteful putting one loaf of bread in the oven. That's not how I cook at all. I'm very economical most of the time, which is why I cook 6 at a time, or bake 6 loaves at a time usually, and then freeze at least 4 and maybe 5 of them for using again. To me that makes more sense, just because we have 5 in our house. But I realise not everybody, some people wouldn't even get through 1 loaf in a couple of days. Depends on the size of your family. The recipe does multiply fairly easily if you want to do that. I'd just be careful on the liquids. It was alien to me even to be measuring liquids. I usually splash in the oil and add enough milk or buttermilk then after, just to bring it to the right drop in consistency. That's usually the way I work. But certainly give it a go if you want to multiply it. It's fairly easy, rather, apart from the liquid. Like I said, you may have seen when I was doing the recipe, I didn't add in all the milk even. I added in the most of the milk because flour varies, of course, as you probably already know, in what liquid it absorbs, and it depends on the time of year, the temperature of the kitchen. There's lots of different factors. So I don't add the full amount of liquid in the beginning. I usually add the most of it and then see if I need to add more after that. You can find this recipe on my website. I spoke a little earlier about my website. That's the big project I've been working on for the last several months. It's still very much in its infancy. There's a few little gremlins on it at the moment. I'm hoping to get those ironed out before I get, by the time I post this video. So if you head over to my website, which the link will be down below in the description, you can print out directly from my webpage with the recipe on it. And I do go into a lot of detail on the blog post about the different ingredients and a few variations that you can do as well, or different ingredients that you can use. I like recipes that can change up very easily. Like today I was using milk instead of buttermilk. Normally I use buttermilk, but my milk was getting close to its use by date. Starting to curdle a little bit on the tea, so it's time to get it used up for something else. And I still have a good bit of it left, so I'm probably going to go and make the bulk recipe now for my 6 loaves and get them in the freezer. I would really appreciate if you can share my recipe from my website or share this video. I'd also appreciate if you can press the thumbs up button down below and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm at 669 subscribers and I'm looking to get that pushed up over the 1,000. It'd be great. Again, thanks very much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.